And I can't hold it much longer. Gonna let go so I can be free.
Hey, how we doing? Godfather. It's Frazier Friday. You happy? You in a good mood?
Oh man, I don't know why I woke up really tired today, man. And now like I'm with you guys, I got a little pep. I literally, and this is gonna sound old, I literally just took like I timed it out at 12 till 12:30, 18-minute nap on the couch, just sitting up. I've never sit up and took a nap. My wife was looking at me kind of funny, but you know, power naps are clutch. I don't know what happened. I just didn't wake up really. It wasn't a good sleep. You know, part of what happens, but it is what it is.
Good for you. I'm proud of you. What's the matter, Kratz?
So embarrassed. Todd, you're like, baseball's supposed to age you, not retirement. Like you're aging right before our eyes. You're like Benjamin Button the opposite way.
Hey, don't call me Benji, okay? Call me Mr. Benjamin Button if you're going to do it.
Wait, Benjamin Button is just the opposite of Benjamin Button is just aging, isn't it?
It's just age.
Yeah,
but he does it quickly.
Hey,
Okay. Well, all right. Let me see if I can get a little pep to your step. Okay, I'm going to
Help
read.
me out. And I don't drink caffeine. That's the problem.
Oh, well, that is the problem. So
Yeah.
we'll just start out with an early cheers then for Todd Father.
Oh, there you go.
Scott's always got it.
Caffeine. All right, I'm going to read you a comment.
Got coffee.
Yes. I'm going to read you a comment before we start because this will wake you up. Okay. It's from Warren in one of our YouTube videos yesterday when we were talking about some type of free agent situation. The money for these players is really getting out of hand. I can't see it continuing. Owners will put a stop to it soon. And then he was talking about agents making too much money too. And I, of course, couldn't hold back, Kratz. So I said,
let's hear the rebuttal.
What about the son of a billionaire who has zero skills, zero work ethic, and hasn't made a dime for himself in his life? Now he's taking over a team and milking it for cash. What did he earn?
So what my question to Warren, would be, so where do you want that money to go? If you're not going to pay the 700 and whatever it is, it used to be 750 best players in the world, where do you want that money to go? That would be my rebuttal to, like, if you don't pay Juan Soto $50 million a year, where is that money going to go? Because if everybody just gets a certain amount, then owners are just going to pocket it. And they're already pocketing a lot.
That is the bonus $1 billion, trillion question. Warren, what would you like this money to do? Now, if you're smart, your rebuttal back to Kratz would be, well, I want to pay less to go to a ball game. Welcome to the world of dynamic pricing. Unless you're making a park larger for the World Series, for example, it is what it is. Either the team's going to make money off a higher price or the secondary ticket market is. We can do Econ 101 someday on FT, but also, if you want to just keep lowering it, if you'd like to go the other way, you know what would eventually happen? Another league would emerge.
Yeah.
If you want to pay for the top talent in the world, another league would emerge. That's how it works. So I think everyone's fine with the current setup. Agreed?
Look at golf. They got another, you know. Right. It's just the only example I can think of, but somebody's willing to pay. I'm talking millions and millions and millions more. And guess what? It's enticing to people. Money is not everything, but you know, it's a lot.
and it's fun to talk about.
For years, ownership has dominated media. Ownership has dominated the narrative. If the Phillies go out and get Trey Turner, the Phillies ticket prices are not going up based on that. Look at the countless examples of teams that don't spend, their salaries stay the same, and yet ticket prices keep going up. Ticket prices are not directly correlated to player salaries. That is not the direct correlation. We can get into it, but that's a whole nother episode.
Which is why you should be rooting for your team, if they are one of the players in the market for Soto, to spend that damn money, because it's not your money and it's not going to affect your pocket at all. So instead of charging the
money.
Exactly. Take it away, Juan. Where will Juan go? Sponsored by AJ Przinsky. It is his favorite segment. He loves watching that. Top Father, is that the first time you've caught that?
First
animation?
time. I didn't know where you were going with it, and I was very pleased. I was very pleased.
Todd, next time you see it, I know you didn't spend a lot of time on right field. Next time you see it, the woman in the front row of the first picture, she is like a super fan, and she has been out there since I played for the Yankees. So it's ironic.
So-
Obviously, big Judge fan.
So back in 1920. All right. What?
Babe Ruth was her favorite player.
All right. Well, now maybe her new favorite will be Juan Soto. But let's start with the Red Sox. And they met with him in Southern California on Thursday night. Sean McAdam confirmed that they had their meeting yesterday, as today is Friday. Attendees, Tom Werner, who's one of the owners, Sam Kennedy, who runs the biz, Craig Breslow, who runs the baseball ops, Alex Cora, the manager, no John Henry, who's the big head honcho owner. Lasted roughly 3 hours. Soto was apparently impressed with the presentation. Money term was not discussed. So, Top Father, the reason that AJ hates this is he's like, just tell me what's happening. All this stuff's BS. Like, let's cut to the chase. But people like following this. And I will say most of it doesn't matter in this case in particular, because if the Red Sox offer more money than the Yankees and the Mets and the Blue Jays, then they're going to get them, right? Even if their presentation or their filet mignon that they served him during it is not as good, right? Even if the wine doesn't taste as good, they open up a bottle that was supposed to be incredible and it was just okay. It's okay. You know a way to get over that? You just offer more than everyone else.
Listen, this is why I love it. It gives the teams that are, Juan Soto went to the Red Sox. It gives them a glimpse of hope. It gives these fans like, wow, all right, they did try something. 3 hours of a meeting with Juan Soto involved. Juan was actually there. It wasn't just the agents talking. It gives these teams glimpses of hope. And will he go there? We don't know. But it's absolutely amazing, and this is good for baseball. This guy is going to job interview after job interview, and some people are like, oh, this is stupid, this is corny, this, whatever, blah, blah, blah. This is really good for baseball, and it keeps you on your toes, and this is very exciting. And if you're a Red Sox fan, you should be, somewhat happy. At least they're trying,
We're an interactive show here, okay? So if you're listening in the car on the podcast, if you're if you're watching this later, if you're watching right now, I want you guys to play along with me. Raise your hand if you've ever sat through a 3-hour meeting that you enjoyed. Exactly. So why do they have to make it 3 hours? Why do they have to make a meeting about a professional baseball player, big leaguer, 3 hours long? So to me, I don't think it was 3 hours. No way Juan's sitting there. Now, maybe we had a meal. Maybe we took an hour and a half, 2 hours to wine and dine me. Totally. But don't tell me we had a 3-hour sit-down presentation to tell me why you wanted to go to Fenway and how 63 of your balls caught to hit in left field in the first 6 years of your career would now be doubles, which would then present you with being third all-time in doubles for somebody age 25 or younger. Like, all that stuff can easily be sent, easily be told. 3-hour meeting, stop. That didn't happen. You weren't there for 3 hours. If you were, you were talking way too long.
They probably weren't talking. They probably had a nice meal. Maybe,
See, now that's what I want to know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, give me all the nooks and crannies. I want to know exactly. Hey, he had a nice bottle of 30 aged scotch, something. Like, what did he have to eat? Was it filet? Was it crab legs? Talk to me. Like, I want to know the nooks and crannies. That's the good juice that we want to hear about.
Mm-hmm. That was a great take too. I mean, there's a difference between a meeting and a dinner. You can sit down and have a meal. If you're literally sitting for 3 hours and going over a presentation of the team, yeah, that's actually going to get kind of boring. I'm with you. And also, I mean, the main question, if I'm Juan, in addition to the money, we get that, right? Like, you got to offer the most for me. The main question I would have if I'm him is, are you guys going to operate like a big boy market team or just a medium? market team? Because are you going to be a $200 million payroll or a $300 million payroll? Because the teams you used to compete with are in the 300 range nowadays, Yankees, Mets, etc. And you're not playing ball like that. So even if you do have the biggest offer, are you going to support me, or are you trying to profit in your portfolio now? They actually have a little more talking to do to convince him, in my mind, that they're serious about not just going after him and then saying, all right, Breslow, find diamond in the rough after diamond in the rough.
Yeah, and who's picking up that bill? No, I'm just kidding. It's definitely the Red Sox picking up that bill. But I mean, the focus is trying to get him on the squad. I think there's, when you have meetings, I think you got to understand something. And I talked about it with you guys earlier. When you have a meeting with a guy of this caliber, you think of Shohei Ohtani, you think of now Juan Soto. I would not want to leave there without trying to get something done. You know what I mean? People are like, oh, let's not talk about money. I don't want to show my hand too early. Listen, I don't really care. I want it to get out there. I want to start pushing this envelope a little bit and say, all right, well, this is the first team that actually offered us something. Oh, this is great. They got the upper hand right now. Even if Boris doesn't want to show his hand, hey, boom. If I had a blank check in front of you right now, Juan Soto, Scott Boris, write something on there and tell me what it's going to take. I'm sure he wouldn't do that, but I would want to get in logistics because you don't know when the last time you're going to talk to him is.
Yep. And then last part here for today's edition of Where Will Juan Go? Hector Gomez, who's been on the money on some things, has talked about the Blue Jays front office. He said they're a lot more in on Soto than most believe. People would be shocked when they find out how much the Jays want Juan Soto. Do we believe this? Do we believe this from a money standpoint? Obviously, they want him. Cool. Everyone wants him. But do you want him in the $500-600 million range that it's going to take? Do you think that's serious from Toronto?
Yes, because I think they've gone down this route. I think they went down this route last year. We heard reports that the $700 million was like a one-time use. It wasn't like, oh, well, we'll just take the 700 and divvy it out. They had a one-time use, and so that was just last year, last offseason at this time. Maybe they're opening the same purse strings. Maybe they're like, hey, you know what? We have a monopoly on this country with our Rogers Communication Company and with our team. This is our one-time use. We can use this silver bullet.
Yeah, they're going to have to pay more than everyone else. It's usually the case. You're in another country, taxes are higher, the whole deal. But hey, we'll get to that. Good news. We're going to talk to Ben Nicholson-Smith later in the show. But up next, I mean, do I go as far as calling him my favorite broadcaster? It's the reason I watch Mariners games. Now I'll be listening to Yankee games on the radio. Dave Sims. I cannot wait to talk to Dave and congratulate him face to face. FT fam, we love you. We want to shout out Storyworth, who is a big sponsor on Foul Territory. And this is perfect timing to check out what they bring to the table at storyworth.com/foul. We taught Todd Father about what it brings to the table yesterday. Todd, actually, I'm going to take it to the next level. I'm going to hook you up. I'm going to get you a little Storyworth book. So who would you give it to? Like, who is the bookkeeper in the family? And you can even go extended family. Like for me, right away, my mom is the one who's got the stories. She's plugged in with everybody's everything, birthdays, photos, the whole deal. So she is the Storyworth creator. Do you have one?
I wish my grandparents were alive because they had the story. Oh my God. Like that. I would just hand it to all four of them and it would be over with. It would probably take 2 days and the book would be, you'd have 8 books.
Yep.
But it would definitely, it would be my dad. My dad's got the stories. He's got 3 younger brothers and a younger sister. And boy, the stories that he tells me, he's like, I've never told you some of these stories. I'm like, dude, you're getting older, man. Let's start writing some stuff up so I can, send these down the path of your grandkids, and more and more. So, yeah, it would definitely be my pop for sure.
There you go. And so with Storyworth, you're able to give those you love a thoughtful, personal gift from the heart and preserve those memories and stories for years to come at storyworth.com/Val. Save $10 on your first purchase. Storyworth.com/Val. You're saving $10 on your first purchase. Over 35,000 five-star reviews on Trustpilot. Millions of stories preserved. They send you the email, you write back what they ask for. They put the book together. It's awesome. Perfect for holiday season. Check it out, FT fam. And when we come back, the new radio broadcaster of the New York Yankees, Dave Sims, along with Susan Waldman, will talk to Dave about the dynamic duo that we're about to listen to coming up in 2025.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Sims. By now, you've probably heard the news. I'm coming home to New York. I thoroughly enjoyed my 18 years in Seattle. I love becoming part of Mariner Nation, the great Pacific Northwest. So many great memories, so many good people. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you for having this interloper coming in and being part of your culture. I really enjoyed it, and I wish everybody in Seattle and the great Pacific Northwest all the best as we move forward. Go Mariners and go Yankees.
The legendary broadcaster Dave Sims joining us on FT right now, and I'm so excited for this and appreciate the time because I know you're busy as hell right now. The news just came out. Congratulations to the new Yankees.
Yeah, man. Hey, guys, good to see you. I just got to get my lights right. There we go.
No,
hey,
you're
good.
Good.
To see you guys. Thanks for your invitation. Yeah, this is, this is a big moment in my life. Come on, man. And, coming home, and it's the New York Yankees. Come on, jeez. And again, much love, much respect for everybody, and so many friends in Seattle and the Pacific Northwest. And but this was one of his once in a lifetime opportunities, and it happened. And here we are, and we're ready to rock and roll.
Do you remember all the conversations you and I had, when I played and then now, working with the Yankees? There was always that at the end, you're like, man, I love coming back home. I miss it. New York, I get to eat my food that I love. I get to see family, friends. And now look at you now. I'm going to drop one. I'm going to say, hey, now, let's go, baby.
Yeah. Hey, I hope that when that Yankee 2025 team gets put together, there'll be many occasions for some hey nows and some giddy ups and gone and ring the bell and all that kind of stuff. I'm very excited. Booney and I hit it off a few years ago. It was interesting when I found out, and it sort of struck me. He grew up in Philly, so he's an Eagles fan like I am. So I remember there's a bunch of times recently where I'd come in and I'd start talking about our two ball clubs, and then the conversation would move right in. What the hell's wrong with the Eagles? What are they doing? Hey, what's going? That whole thing. So it's been a lot of fun.
So, do you feel like Didi Gregorius here? Do you feel like you're taking over for Derek Jeter in the radio booth?
Hey, man, I basically, when I got to Seattle, Dave Niehaus was in the last innings of his career, and I worked with. I did some games with him, probably more spring training games than on radio. And the way that was set up, he would do once the regular season started. He would do the first 3 innings. I would be with Rick Riz on the radio side for those 3 innings. And in the 4th inning, we'd switch. And so basically, I was brought in to more or less replace Dave Niehaus, legend, Hall of Famer, great guy. And now I get to follow another legend in John Sterling. And you know what? I'm just, as the song goes, I'm going to be me. I have my way of doing things, and I really like John. And I go way back with him when he was a New York, New Jersey Nets basketball play-by-play announcer, and I was covering the team when I was at the New York Daily News, and I was telling this story earlier that I'm in midcourt with the other beat writers, writing our stories, and you'd hear John. I would look to my left, and John would be standing up, and he always went with the whole cupping the ear, and he'd speak into his mic, and he was sitting next to Kevin Lockery, who was the coach, and Kevin would say, "Hey, let's run an LA 23 for soup." And in the middle, ball bringing up, they're bringing up the ball, bringing the ball up the court. They're going to run an LA 23 for soup, and LA 23 for soup. Fans at home had no idea what the hell he was talking about, but it just tickled me that he would bring that kind of immediacy and that intimacy, to the broadcast. That was the radio broadcast. So, yeah, he's a beauty. He's an absolute beauty.
And somehow we're actually going to bring him on the show on Monday. So we'll get his message to you, passing the baton, because we're actually sending a producer there. I mean, he can't even get a text message. So we're going to bring him to the podcast, digital world, TV world, and get him on. So we'll talk to Sterling. But my next one, yeah, it'll be fun. What my next one for you, Dave, is Dave Sims and Susan Waldman. That is pure entertainment bliss. Obviously, just like John and Susan, but now getting you and Susan together on a radio broadcast, I'm very excited for, of course, the game calling, but the commentary component. So how well do you know her? And can you just give us some type of preview of what to expect?
Oh, we go back, like 1988, something like that. And we used to get after it when I was doing a midday show at WFAN with Ed Coleman. And it was great because, she would say something about the Knicks, and we'd have a little bit of a disagreement, and then we go back and forth, and then you forget about it. Yeah, she's great, and she's a pioneer. I mean, she's Hall of Fame quality. When I see female reporters in sports and anchor people, and once I get to know them, invariably at some point in the conversation, I said, if you haven't already done so, you need to kiss the ring, or certainly pick up the phone and call Susan Waldman for the path that she has blazed. Mm-hmm. And it has been fantastic. And she went through, when you listen to her stories, there were a lot of guys who were real a-holes to her. And there was a lot of guys who were absolute gems. Dave Stewart, Jesse Barfield, Don Mattingly, I think, Dave Winfield. She could tell you the whole story. But, I have enormous respect for Susan and affection, even going into this gig, and I respect what she has done, in her career, transitioning from a Broadway performer. And hey, let's be honest. Let's be totally honest. You gotta love this. You got a Jewish woman from New England and a black guy from New York going to be calling baseball games in New York City. Hey now.
Hey now.
That's cool.
She told us those stories. She told us the stories about how Jesse Barfield, essentially saved her from another player in the locker room that was giving her a hard time. She told it on FT. So she's been a repeat offender out here on FT. You have been a New York fan. It kind of kills me, the fact that you are a Philly guy and you're allowed to still. But you kind of represent New York. Have you thought about it for a long time? Your calls, are they going to be different in New York, or is it just you coming to New York, bringing what you already do?
Dude, I'm just bringing me to New York. I'm not changing anything. And people know me from my days at FAN. You got to remember, I was a sports writer here in New York at the Daily News for 7 years. I was at Satellite News Channel. Then I come back to New York, and I was at WNBC Radio from 86 to 88, 89 to 93 on WFAN middays with Ed Coleman. And then when I was doing the NFL in Westwood 1, I was on Sunday afternoons and Sunday nights at games carried by FAN. So I'm no stranger to New York by any stretch. In fact, I've lived here longer in New York City than I have in Philly. I grew up in Philly, proud of those roots, still an Eagles fan. But, I'm probably, a greater part of me is a New York guy for sure.
Yeah, definitely understand. Now, I want to get into a little baseball question, player-wise. You're in a meeting with Juan Soto right now. I want you to tell me how you're going to pitch this guy to stay with the Yankees and explain to him, listen, it's time you become a Yankee for life.
Hey, man, you need to become a Yankee for life. We're talking about one of the great brands in the world, not just sports. One of the great historic franchises in the world of sports, worldwide. And I remember when Robinson Cano, we were thankful as heck that he left the Yankees to come to Seattle. And I was thinking, dude, you'd already have a statue in Monument Park by now. And Soto, and being Hispanic, and being on the East Coast, and being relatively close to his home down in the islands, in Miami or whatever, and the fabulous population of Hispanic folks that we have here in the New York metropolitan area, he is adored by those people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy for me to say, I mean, $700 million, and I know Scott Boras wants to get the biggest dollar, but sometimes, if you're happy, you can live with $600 million or $500 million or whatever the hell it is. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to have the absolute most money. If you're happy, you got Judgy hitting behind you. You know they're going to do whatever they can to reinforce the rest of the lineup. It's the New York Yankees, dude. Come on now.
I think they should bring him, Todd Father. I think they might
Yeah,
want to
I
bring the
think
radio
think
voice
they need
for the dinner. I know
to.
Dave would take the dinner. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be top shelf. So yeah, he's available. Just throwing that out there.
I mean, when I've been following baseball all my life, and 41 pennants, 27 World Series. Hello, anybody home? Loaded with Hall of Famers, Hall of Fame broadcasters, biggest city in America. In Philly, I always say about my place of birth, Philadelphia, they love you hard and hate you hard. Well, it's not too dissimilar, very similar here in New York. But I mean, it's like, Frank Sinatra, singing, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere, and if you're already here, duh, plant some roots, man.
Well said. Okay, so I want to go back for a moment, Dave. You know this, and that was my first reaction actually yesterday before the news was official. There was like the reports coming out, whatever, which is fun. Hey, it looks like Dave Sims is going to be the new Yankees radio broadcaster. And I wrote how, for me, I am a night owl and I watch late night games, right? And for me, when I know Dave is on the call, I'm locked into the Mariners game, and I will give that favor over some other games. Obviously, it was fun to watch their pitching staff this year. But what are your feelings about your time in Seattle, people that have reached out, and then even the layer of what you experienced with the team? Because you're going to the Yankees. You just made your pitch to Juan Soto. You were the voice of a franchise that, especially right now, has so much talent, but has so much not negative history, but you can put it into words better than I can. I mean, damn, that city deserves more playoff status.
Well, man, I'm telling you, it's a very good sports town. It's got maybe the hungriest fan base there is. I mean, so many other, here in New York, you expect it, playoffs, World Series, yada yada yada. But that'd be a first time thing in Seattle. And I always harken back to the division series against Houston a few years ago. The game 3 goes 18 innings. Those fans, and I don't care what the numbers say. Say capacity was 45 and change. Heck, there was like 53,000 people at that ballpark, and they stood for the last 9 innings and cheered their lungs out, cheered their hearts out. It's a terrific fan base, dying for a winner. So many good people, in the organization of people, and then friends I've made around the area. In Seattle, it's just been stuff I'll never forget. So, I wish them well, and I tell you, it still hacks me off that with that starting rotation that was so good, and all those cats, with the exception of Brian Wu, but he was outstanding. For the most part, made all their starts, and we missed the playoffs by a freaking game. And I can't tell you, the last 8-9 weeks, every coach that I know, in opposing teams and players and managers, dude, we do not want to place you effing guys in the playoffs. Not with that pitching staff. And then to finish a game, it was one of the worst hitting teams ever, but one of the best pitching teams ever. So, yeah, it's a shame it didn't work out, man. But a lot of good dudes on that team. A lot of them are going to be back this coming year, and wish them well, except when they play Los Yankees.
So there's rivalry between players. There's rivalry between Todd and I. I think there's a little bit of a rivalry now in New York in the radio booth. Howie Rose put out a little tweet here. He says, Great news. 2 fronts from Howie Rose. First, I'm thrilled for a longtime friend, Dave. And equally important that I remain the youngest lead radio baseball play produced broadcaster in New York.
That is very funny. I know I owe Howie a call. Yeah, I got him by like 370 days or something like this. yeah.
What do you have to say to him?
What's that? What do I say? Hey man, we'll have some laughs. It'll be fun. I don't really get tied up in that kind of stuff. I mean, I look forward to seeing Howie, and get to see Gary Cohn and Keith Hernandez and Ron Darling on the TV side, young Mr. McCarthy, Pat McCarthy on the radio side. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. When I was doing talk radio, you'd always hear from obviously Yankee fans and Met fans, and they'd be sniping at each other and everything. Yeah, I'm not into that. Hey, man, I've been through enough wars. I don't have to go through that.
All right, I got two personal ones. First of all, you went to Chestnut Hill Academy, right?
Yes, sir. The Interact League in Philadelphia.
So I played, obviously not at the same time as you, but we played in the Interact for the Carpenter Cup that would play down in the Vet, and I worked at Chestnut Hill Farmers Market. I don't know if you ever went into Chestnut Hill Farmers Market.
Oh my! What a small world.
Yep,
it's very cool. And in the Interact, Tyler Kepner, the great baseball writer for the Athletic, he went to Germantown Academy.
Yep.
Bradley Cooper, the actor, went to Germantown Academy in the Interact. My man, Mark Gubazad, Angels TV color, he went to Penn Charter. He was 10 years after me. I told him, I said, Goobs, I'm glad I didn't have to face you, man. It was a hell of a career. I don't know if I was hitting that breaking ball of his, let alone a fastball. I played. I was the first black athlete at that school, and one of very few in the Interact back in. You're talking late '60s, late '60s. Yeah.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So that's a small connection. It's close. It's near my house. I live north of there in Lansdale, Telford, Souderton area. Yeah.
We're up 309 in Souderton, where Jamie Moyer's from.
Jamie Moyer's from. Yep.
Yeah, and
exactly.
And Kevin Nagandi from ESPN is, I want to say, Coatesville.
I'm not sure. I know he's from the area. Yeah, he's a Philly guy.
He's a bigger Psycho Eagle fan than I am.
Yeah, go Birds. It's been going well so far this year.
We were walking here in New York last week. My wife and I, we did some errands and just went for a walk. I'm coming down Park Avenue near the Armory up in the 60s, and it's really striking, blonde, patrician-looking woman, probably in her 50s. And I got my hoodie on. I got the Eagles logo right here. I got a jacket on top. And she walks by, and she doesn't even move her head. She just goes, "Go Birds." And I was like, all right, yeah, okay, cool.
You still got it. All right, last one from me. When we announced on our Twitter account, FT's Twitter account, that Dave Sims was coming to be on the radio, I responded, and we rarely put our own tweets up, but here's my tweet. I want Dave Sims to commentate my Peloton rides. I would be PRing for days. Just hearing you announce like an amazing play, like JP comes across the place. Hey, now. Like it gives me chills. So if you have a little side job, when I get on the Peloton bike, I need to call you and you need to pump me up.
Absolutely. We pump each other up because things have been going so nuts here that I've only been on, and I love the Peloton. It's keeping me in shape. I've only hit it once in the last 2 weeks. So obviously I got a lot of time to make up. Yeah, things have been crazy. But no, I would definitely do that. I mean, I dig that, man. And the Peloton, some of the instructors, if I'm in the mood, I don't mind having somebody barking at me. A lot of times I just want to get on a ride, just ride for an hour and just ride it. But other times in my competitive juices, some of those guys get you going, and the women, they get you going too. And, hey, come on, let's go, pick it up. Hey, that whole thing. So no, we're speaking the same language.
Yeah, Kratz is a monster. I've seen him pre-show. Get after it. All right, so last one from all of us here, Dave. So Sterling liked to reference show tunes and Broadway plays and stuff like that. Was part of his personality, right? For Yankee fans that don't know you, that aren't watching Mariners games late at night or listening to Mariners games late at night, what can you tell them about your style and what you like to do?
Well, I'll throw in some pop culture references. Some of them might be old, and some of it, hey, kids, Google it. I mean, I was thinking this morning, we were going down to WFAN to do some things, and the song, and I think it's from Gypsy. If my friends could see me now, and Susan's going to kill me for not knowing it, but I know that's from the late 50s, early 60s. So anyway, I can hang with her a little bit on Broadway stuff. I love like my sons. Oh my God, any kind of Godfather reference. Leave the gun, take the cannoli. Anything from Goodfellas. And music references, whether it be hard rock, Motown, jazz. I mean, I love that kind of stuff. And so if it fits, I don't force it. But if it fits, I go with it. The other thing, too, I feel like part of my broadcast life was raised by Marty Glickman back in 86 to 88 when we were both at MSG Network and NBC Sports. And in terms of working radio, and Marty always said, "Hey, I want you as you're the eyes and ears, on calling radio play-by-play." And I did try to do this best I could in football, and I think I succeeded. And I want to know what it looks like, smells like, what's the air taste like, which way's the wind blowing, who's showing really bad body language. In addition to describing and accurately describing what's in play as it plays, and just there's times we got to let it breathe. You can't go wall to wall sound, but I just think that those are some tenets I live by, and I think having experienced Marty and Marv Albert's one of my heroes, and so many guys of that generation were Marty guys as well here in New York. So I take a lot of that into what I do, and I'll miss doing TV, but in doing baseball and radio, I think a lot of guys will agree, particularly guys in broadcast, but I think even consumers will say the purest form of taking in a baseball game, of experiencing a baseball game, if you're not there. So this is going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's an art. Baseball on radio is really an art, and there's so much creativity to it.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Well, Dave, obviously can't thank you enough for joining us right after this, and congrats again. You've always supported what we're doing here, and we are super pumped to have you in the New York area. Yankee fans are loving hearing this. They're already chatting back to us. So congratulations. Enjoy the whirlwind, and then we're excited to see you at Yankee Stadium, all right?
Hey, much love, much respect, fellas. Be well. Take care.
Thank you. You too. Dave Sims with us on FT, New Yanks radio broadcaster. Be right back. That was super cool. I just want to recap that for 2 minutes because as you both probably have heard, we talked to many broadcasters and reporters and all these kind of people on shows, but that one definitely is a strong, strong legend on my list. The voice of Dave Sims for Mariners games for a while. I mean, I can say this, obviously he's too humble to say this, but I don't even know if Mariners fans, some probably did, but realized how lucky they were to have someone like him calling their games. And I know others do too, but Dave's a legend. I mean, when I would flip through late night, and you usually have maybe 3 or 4 games on by the end of the night, and then I hear him on Mariners, I'm like, all right, here we go. Obviously it's a close game, whatever it is, and I'm picking between Mariners, Astros, and whatever, name that other game. It was usually a pretty easy choice. Like, even if I'm doing the double screen action, I'm like, I'm going to listen to Dave. The combination of the voice, the style, the way he calls the game, but also, like we talked about at the last question there, guys, the conversations and the references, all of that stuff. He's big on doing it organically. So I think people will really like that too. He's not going to throw a gimmick in your face. And also, I mean, John Sterling had the ultimate shtick. Like, I mean, in a good way, it was fun. Everyone knew him for the way he calls homers and all of that. But Dave's going to come in there. Dude's a legend. He's already done this for a long time. He doesn't need to remodel or do anything. He's just going to go in there and be him. And then people are going to be like, oh, this is perfect.
Agreed. Agreed. He's a beauty, man, and he's always giving me pointers along the way when I broadcasted against Seattle for 4 games with Michael Kay, and he'd come in and we'd just talk about things and where you at, how's this, what are you doing, blah blah blah, and he's been a great sort of little mentor too as well. So definitely excited to have him in the East Coast for the Yankees too as well, and I know fans are going to be really excited to hear his voice. He's a thing of beauty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, selfishly, Kratz, I mean, obviously, I'm happy for Yankee fans in the area and all of that, but we're a national show, and I give love all over. That's why I listen and watch just as many late night games. Like, I'm gonna miss him a little bit on the Mariners calls. Not gonna lie. It's almost that time. Do you know it's almost Black Friday? FoulTerritoryShop.com. If you're looking for gifts, we keep expanding the offerings. And if you want to rep the brand, this is the way to do it. Mugs, stickers, hats, shirts, hoodies, etc. Get after it. FoulTerritoryShop.com. Let's charge it. Is there only one team doing damage right now? What's funny is most of these moves aren't significant names. I mean, Soler was, and Kyle Hendricks obviously has had a nice career, but the Angels are at least trying to get everything done pre-Thanksgiving. We had Perry Manassian on the other day, and they agreed to a deal with Scott Kingery on a 1-year contract. They got themselves a little bit of, I guess, multiple now insurance options infield-wise. So I'm learning, and here's Jeff Fletcher. I guess I can read this too for the podcast crowd listening later. He said, in case you missed some of the Angels' early winter moves, here's an updated look at the depth chart. Bold players are new. So far, they're making the bottom of the roster better while also hoping they can get more out of the returning players with the influence of the new ones. So we're talking about Newman and Kingery for the middle infield, and keeping in mind that Neto might not start the season because he had shoulder surgery. Soler for some thump, and Travis d'Arnaud to obviously pair with Logan O'Hoppe and Kyle Hendricks for the rotation. They still need a lot of work on the pitching side in my mind, but here's what I've learned so far, Kratz. 2 things. 1, the Angels had and have had depth issues for years, right? You get to the end of the year. Sometimes they just stink from the start, and they did this year, but sometimes you get to the end of the year and they just run out of gas, and it seems like a depth problem because they don't spend on their whole roster. So I think they're trying to fix that. And number 2, let's remember Perry Manassian learned a lot of things. Alex Anthopoulos does a ton of damage in November in the offseason. He likes to make his moves early and say, this is who I like, I'm going after them, versus who's going to give me the best deal.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like, they're becoming the West Coast Braves. And, that's fine. Like, plenty of teams poach other leaders from other teams, and they kind of develop that same style. So what are they getting? So what are they getting when they sign a Kyle Hendricks? What are they getting when they trade for a Jorge Soler? I think Jorge Soler, out of all these signings between Newman and Kingery and Hendricks, you're getting a bona fide 30 home run threat even in Anaheim, possibly 40. He's hit 40 in bigger stadiums. But with Kingery, to me, he's the top available player who hasn't been in the big leagues very much recently. He's played in 1 game since 2001, 2022. He got in 1 game with the Phillies. But the dude hit 25 pumps in a large AAA stadium. Yes, I get it. It's AAA. Yes, I get it. He was 30 years old playing in AAA. I understand what it's like to play in the minor leagues when you're older. And when you have a year like he had for Lehigh Valley, the Phillies AAA team, he's not going to go back to the Phillies. He's already, that they've already done that song and dance for quite a few years after they gave him the extension early. Like, he really put himself in a spot to be this guy that will be able to play. You saw that depth chart that we put up on that tweet. He can play different positions. He can hit you some dingers. So if you're taking a minor league guy and you're giving him a small big league contract, because he's still only arbitration eligible, so it might not even be a guaranteed big league contract. I don't know what it will be structured like. Dude hit 25 pumps last year. It's not something to ignore.
They're finding ways to get things done. And I mean, listen, Travis d'Arnaud, I love, like, these guys, they're players, they're not going to woo you away. It's like, oh man, they're contending now, but they got guys that have been there before and that can play, and it all bars on how Trout's doing too as well. I think he's going to be 100% ready to rock. You got Soler. So you got some guys that can play the game. So they're going to be in it for the most part. If everybody stays healthy, can't be mad at the Angels right now. They're doing what they're doing, and it's just little. I call them nickel dimers. I've said this before. Little, nickel dimer here, nickel dimer there, and he's getting ready for the holidays, I guess. So he wants to get everything done before the holidays come out, and then he can just chill out. So all good.
Yeah, hey, go for it. If there's certain players you like, be aggressive about it, because sometimes the prices go down, but sometimes they go up, depending on where everything falls. So good for them. They have to do this, raise the floor, but they'll need star power too. Like, if this is all they do, which is not going to be the case, then fans are going to be pissed. Like, you need to go get yourself a top end starter. It doesn't have to be Corbin Burns, but we talked about Fried, and there's plenty of other names. We can spend plenty of time on that. They need to do some damage to the rotation. Agreed.
And I think of the fact that we always talk about, oh yeah, we got to get, why couldn't we get this guy? Oh, we're in on this guy. And we're usually talking about the bigger name free agents. They're just going, they looked at the guys that they wanted and they're like, we're going to go get them. Market be damned. We're going to still go get them. Like, we're not waiting around to see, I wish we would have had him. Now they got him. I commend him for it.
Yep, same here. All right, so here's the plan. Coming right back with Ben Nicholson-Smith to talk about the Jays' pursuit of Soto, but also what else the Jays are up to this offseason. If you have questions, drop them in the chat in YouTube. If you're watching on TV, be right back.
Would you put May in the bullpen? I'm not opposed to Dustin May in the bullpen.
I think his future as a big leaguer is in the bullpen. Nasty. I mean, he has absolutely nasty stuff with that two-seamer. Just have him focus on two pitches. Let it eat while you're out there. 3 outs, 6 outs, and dive, whatever it is. You don't need to try to extend to 4, 5, 6 innings. I think that's his real future here, and being part of that.
Yeah.
If maybe Blake Trinan doesn't come back, he can be an option there late in a game, or Dan Hudson replacement again. They're going to build him up. When by the time spring training rolls around, he will be built up. He will be, starting games in spring training. But I don't know that his long-term future. Like when we talked to Mark Pryor last April or whenever he joined us on the show, Mark had told us that whatever the team need is at the time is what Dustin May will do. And I think it'll be a lot more of the same in 2025. Hey, this time there's going to be a parade. This time there's going to be a party. You're there. You're hanging out with your boy. You get to call, a guy, get to call your boy Oral Hershiser. All the moments that led up to an incredible World Series run. Just kind of take us through, your thoughts, your feelings, your experience for this 2024 championship.
Well, that game 5, it was those last couple of innings were really intense for all of us. Obviously, down 5-0, it wasn't a good feeling there in the newsroom, and we were thinking, all right, it's going to come back to LA. We'll win it in Game 6 on Fernando's birthday. That's going to be poetic in itself. It's going to be great. But when they tied the game, I think we all felt like the Dodgers are winning it tonight. And when we had that final moment in the studio and all of us are there, it's hard for me to describe because I'm a fan first and I'm a host of this Dodgers network, probably a distant second. So in those moments, and you see the reaction that I had after they won the World Series, and I'm dropping to my knees and people are sending me, they're sending me the memes, me alongside Brandy Chastain from the U.S. women's team winning the World Cup. Like, great. I didn't have my sports bra on, so I didn't have to leave that for the viewers out there. But it's such a cool moment to be able to celebrate that and to be in the studio with Oral and Nomar and Jerry. And, this is the second time we've been able to do that, having won it in 2020. That, I'm living out a dream that I think a lot of Dodger fans would be certainly envious of, to be able to hang out with those guys. And, watch the end of a World Series together and drink champagne on a show together, afterwards. It's just awesome. It really is. I'm so lucky.
Here we go. Back with Ben Nicholson-Smith from Sportsnet, joining us talking Blue Jays right now. And I want to get right to the main event because obviously everyone's asking about Juan Soto, but I'll cue it up to plug the article. Ben, you just wrote about Blue Jays contradictions. And thank you for joining us. How you doing? But let's get right into what you wrote about because it really plays into the storylines here.
Yeah, doing great, Scott. Nice to be joining you guys. And yeah, I think that the Juan Soto stuff is very reminiscent of the Shohei Ohtani stuff last year. And I think a lot of Jays fans are excited, but they don't want to get burned, right? I mean, Juan Soto's an amazing player. I don't have to tell anyone that. It's pretty obvious just how good he is. But I think at the same time, there are going to be so many other motivated teams, whether it's the Mets, whether it's the Yankees. We're hearing talk that the Red Sox might be really motivated there. So the Jays, I view them as a long shot. I think it's a shot you have to take, and I fully expect that they're going to, put their best foot forward. But I'm not holding my breath for Juan Soto putting on a Toronto Blue Jays jersey.
So you would say this is just to drive the price up for the Yankees?
Well, I think there's an element of that, and the Jays don't want to be doing that. But I like they want to be a serious contender for him in their own right. But this is the other thing: is Soto has just huge implications for wherever he signs, right? I think if the Yankees don't get Soto, they're kind of in trouble with losing Rizzo, losing Glaber, losing Clay Holmes. That's a lot of talent just going out the door, as well as Soto. So if Soto doesn't go to the Yankees, then that's going to change the entire AL East landscape. And if he somehow goes to the Red Sox, watch out. I mean, the Red Sox, I think, are a team on the rise that a lot of people would be pretty scared of, even if they don't make an addition of that magnitude. So yeah, I think that the best case scenario, this is so obvious, but the best case scenario for any American League team is that he goes to the Mets and just stays out of the American League altogether.
But isn't the best case scenario the fact that there is a country that has one baseball team in it? There is a country that has a monopoly on communication networks and Rogers Communication, and they have essentially print loonies and toonies, and they saw already a year of what Shohei Ohtani is worth to the Dodgers, not even talking about World Series victory, just talking about monetary money that Shohei Ohtani brings in. I'm not saying Juan's going to bring the same thing in, but Juan will control a country and that narrative, just like Shohei brought Japan over to Major League Baseball.
100%. Like I am totally sold on the idea of signing Juan Soto, even if it's $675 million over 14 years. Like if some team makes that deal for Juan Soto, I promise you guys, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's an overpay because he's just that good. Like he controls the strike zone so completely. He has incredible power and he's 26 years old. So, you're kind of buying a Hall of Fame plaque here. This is a guy who at this point in his career might have 8 or 9 like prime seasons left. So, there are no guarantees, obviously, as far as what that leads and what that looks like as far as success. But I think he's the best bat that you could find as far as skill sets that would just make your offense really good. Like it's hard for me to imagine a team that has Juan Soto that isn't scoring runs. He's that much of a difference maker.
So I want to go back to a little bit what you guys are talking about, how the Blue Jays are trying to do either matchmaker or trying to have, rise the price up or whatever. I honestly, the last couple of years, I know you guys got George Springer and that kind of stuff. It just seems like it's harder for them to get guys to, go up over the border there and play in the Blue Jays. So like what they need, to me, I feel like they need to change their mindset and attack instead of worrying about what other people are doing to get these guys. You see what the Angels are doing. They're getting these guys 5, 6 already signed deals, which is great. They're not the big names, don't get me wrong, but why aren't the Blue Jays doing this?
Yeah, no, I like that line of thinking because end of the day, like if it's a quote unquote overpay, but you have like one of the best hitters in baseball, like you still have one of the best hitters in baseball. So I don't know that, you don't have to run it through a dollars per WAR calculator to determine if you want Juan Soto on your team. So to me, even if you have to quote unquote overpay, maybe you have to go to a 15th year. You're paying him until he's 39, 40 years old. Like, this is why Scott Boras is in such a good position as his agent because, we hear a lot of rhetoric from Scott Boras, but in this case, you don't even need it. Like, it's just so apparent how much of a game-changing, franchise-changing player he is. And I fully agree that it makes sense for teams to go out there and just spend to the point of being uncomfortable here, because you just don't get that many chances. It's not like signing a number 3 starter. Like, you don't get that many chances to sign Juan Soto.
Yeah, the age, the talent, all of that, right? It's the total package from an offense perspective, and front offices gush over getting players for their prime year. So I have one comment and then I have a question. I actually think, Ben, fans should want, whether it's Blue Jays fans or other fans, want Soto to sign for as many years as possible. That would help a team, as long as they're a big market team, to sign other players and stay within certain luxury tax components. And it's not just about saving money, but MLB actually penalizes teams for going over the cap, right? You end up losing certain places with draft picks and even international signing money. Those are the parts that I think many fans overlook and say, I wouldn't give him 15 years. What's he going to look like at 40? I'm like, I don't care. I would rather be paying him 35, 40 a year than 50 a year, because even if he literally isn't in the league for the last few years, just call it that he was 50 something $million in your head on a per season basis, but you actually got a discount because you were able to spread out that luxury tax number. I don't know if you've gotten a lot of questions about that, but I do feel like fans have been asking me and others on social, like, why would you give him that many years? He's not going to be good at 40. Have you seen a lot of education process going on?
I totally agree with that. With that point, I think that if you can spread out the CBT hit, then that's a good thing, and it can allow you to get a bit more creative. We obviously saw that with Ohtani and him just making, officially $2 million per year on the books. So the one wrinkle with that is, and I don't know the answer to this, but I just wonder if Boras wants an AAV record. Like, if he wants that 44 AAV, that 45, and I maybe Soto wants that too, because if Soto wants that, then I think he's got a pretty good chance to get it.
I'll tell you my prediction, and then I'll get you my next question. I think the record he wants is the most present day money. And technically he wants both records. He wants the average annual value and the most present day money. Guarantee you that is what they're telling teams, and they should tell teams that. But if you have to give up one, I think most players end up going, what's my biggest cash intake, right? This is my one time to strike. So I think that's what's going on, but who knows? We'll see what happens. My next question for you is more Blue Jays related. We'll get into other ideas for them, plan B for the offseason. Most of our fans in the chat right now want the direct front office situation question answered. They're like, is this lame duck status? Do they have to make the playoffs this year? Should they even be running the Blue Jays right now based on the failure of this current run of Blue Jays core to really do that much?
Yeah, I mean, those are very fair questions. I feel like fans in Toronto have been wondering about those for 6 months now, something like that, maybe longer in some cases. Very fair questions. If you have a big payroll and you don't get results, that has to be asked. This is a business where people get fired. This is a business where people pay for poor performance with their jobs. It's not like other businesses. So there are different standards, and that usually applies. So I'm not reporting anything new here when I say this, but I would think that it's a fair assumption that if Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins don't make the playoffs this year, then it would be a much harder sell to ownership to say, guys, I know we just had 2 bad years in a row and the franchise is not where we want it to be, but we deserve an extension. That starts to become a really tough sell. And the point that they've made so far is that 2024 was an exception, and things broke the wrong way. If you look at the big picture, people like Mark Shapiro will say, hey, this is actually a team that's done a lot of things well, which I get. They've done some things well. But if you do 2 bad years in a row, then that starts to become the pattern, and one would presume that there would be some pressure that goes along with that.
Yeah, I feel like some of the decisions they made, not re-signing somebody like Brandon Belt, who had a 138 OPS plus, not bringing back a Gold Glove third baseman. I think it showed them their team ERA was because of some of the good defense that they had. It's still Dalton Varsho. He runs it down. He's getting his gold. But to me, I think that's front office decisions that were severely underestimated or undervalued, whichever way they want to go. So let's go to another comment that was kind of put out there. Vladimir Guerrero, they're willing to play him at third base. Come on, are we serious? Like, haven't we seen this before?
Well, okay, so Vlad Jr., from what I understand, is very open to playing third base, as you'd expect, right? Like, he's a gamer. I think the Jays talk about it like they're open to it, but behind closed doors, my sense is that they would prefer for that to be 20 games a year as opposed to 130 games a year. And certainly, like I've watched Vladdy play a lot, and I think he's become a really, really good defensive first baseman. I think the arm obviously plays, not that you think about arm at first base, but he's got a great arm. His decision making has improved a lot, where he kind of knows where to go. He knows which direction to run, a little flip to the pitcher, covering the base. He's a lot better at those things. I'm not sure how easy that is to quantify, but he's gotten really good at that stuff. So I think my personal opinion that no one's asking for except for you guys, so I appreciate the question, is just leave him at first. He's a good first baseman. Toss him in at third here and there if you need to. That's, you can use that as an option, but I wouldn't mess with a good thing. This guy's one of the best hitters in baseball. I don't think you need to go out there and just start throwing new defensive challenges at him.
Now I'm going to meld a couple of your comments all together. Let's say the Blue Jays do the right thing and they give Juan Soto $675 million. Do you think a player who is younger than Juan Soto and Vlad Jr. is willing to stick around if he knows they've already committed all that money and now his extension, or if he hits free agency, is not going to be as high because they don't have as much for a homegrown guy who's technically a few hundred days younger than him?
That's right. Yeah. I mean, my sense from hearing from Vlad Jr. on this many times, whenever he's been asked, he talks about how he loves Toronto, how he'd be really happy to, stay with the Blue Jays long term. And it's not just Vlad Jr. I mean, talking to his teammates, talking to people, around the team close to him, I really get the sense that Vladdy legitimately likes playing in Toronto in a way that, as you guys know, not every player likes that, but it seems like Vladdy does. So I think they have a pathway to an extension, but what's really interesting to me is where's that price? Because if Soto's 600 plus, I don't think you're getting Vladdy for 340. I think the price is going up and the leverage is very firmly in his side right now.
Yeah, and it's the age. That is the one obsession that every front office agrees on, is I want to get as many, quote, prime years as possible based on the age curve. And Vladdy's in a similar spot. I mean, he goes into free agency. I mean, you might know better than I do. What, 27 is 26. The free agency for him? 26 for him too? Oof. Yeah, see, that is going to be tough. It's hard for me to see a pathway where they keep both. So let's draw up what you think the offseason looks like for the Blue Jays and what you would do if you could for the Blue Jays if they don't get Soto. What's plan B?
Well, what I would do, honestly, is I would seriously consider rebuild. I'm not saying I would do it, but I would seriously consider it. Not to be too negative here, guys, but I would think about that. The Red Sox are really good. The Rays have so much pitching. The Yankees are the Yankees. We all know the Orioles are good. So anyway, that's something that I would at least contemplate. Doesn't seem like the Jays are doing that, so I'll set that aside. As far as predictions and what they actually could do, I think we're going to see them out of bat. Maybe, is that a Tyler O'Neill type bat? Is that a Teoscar Hernandez? Obviously has played in Toronto and excelled here before. Maybe it's a little lower tier. We'll see. But I think that they would add a bat. Their preference would be slightly to the left-handed side, but they could add a right-handed hitter, obviously a switch hitter as well. So they're pretty open there. They need offense, probably corner outfield. And then on the pitching side, they're actually pretty motivated in the starting pitching market. That would bump Yariel Rodriguez to the bullpen. They also need to add to their bullpen because, it was just so rough all last season. They really had a lot of underperformance by WAR. They had the worst bullpen in baseball. That has to improve. That really needs to improve. So bullpen additions also have to be on their list.
What is the point of coming on a show with two catchers normally, AJ and myself, without asking the catching question? To me, I feel like it's a glaring hole, and I kind of feel like they were playing the wrong guy most of the time last year. But is the organization looking to Alejandro Kirk to be the main guy and catch 110 to 115 games?
Well, yeah, it is Kirk that they're going to turn to for that role. They really like his bat to ball skills. They like his ability to frame the ball low in the zone. His throwing got a bit better last year. So those are some positives. Now, I totally agree with your point that you still have, even if Kirk, like, let's say the season goes well. Let's say Kirk's hitting, he's healthy, he plays 100 games. That's still 62 games that you need someone else. And I don't know. It's tough to punt on offense. Even if the backup catcher is hitting 8th or 9th, you want to get something. I think offensively, defensively, or both. So, it's tough because they're balancing these different needs, and yet catcher is at this point, they have Tyler Heineman as their backup at this moment, but it stands to reason that they should try to find a way to upgrade if they can.
One more quick one for you, Ben. A fan question from John about the playing surface, and if you think that affects outfielders when they're making a decision with Toronto. I mean, I'll personally say I think Soto's going for the most part the most money, but do you think that it's a factor? Have you heard much about that from players recently?
Yeah, I mean, Kiermaier was the guy who talked about it when he came over, and he essentially played, with the exception of the Dodgers part of his career, he played his whole career on turf. So, and he's a guy who did deal with some nagging aches and pains, and he was still willing to do that because the opportunity to win, the money, those things lined up. So that worked out for Kiermaier. I totally agree with you that, for Juan Soto, I doubt he even is thinking about turf one bit, but for more of a defensive outfielder, that could be more of a consideration.
Yep, fair. Great answer. Ben, awesome having you on. Thanks for the time. Follow Ben at B Nicholson-Smith. Check out his work online, Sportsnet. The contradiction article is really good. Thank you, Ben. Enjoy the weekend.
Thanks, guys. You too.
Appreciate it. Ben Nicholson-Smith talking Jays, and we're going to do contract predictions next. How much for some of the other free agents, not Soto. Shout out to America's #1 meal kit, HelloFresh. We're hitting the weekend. You might feel a little bit lazy, maybe even a little bit cold, depending on where you are in actually the Northeast. Getting a little chilly, isn't it, Todd?
Ooh, it's getting chilly willy, but no.
Yeah.
Next 3 days will be low 60s, so that's nice. Don't even start.
Okay, good. So it's perfect. Todd Father, cooks up something nice and fresh from HelloFresh. He picks out what he wants. You got dozens of meal options that are on the website. You pick, let's say you're ordering 3 for the week or 4 meals for the week. You pick what you want. You chef it up. You can pretend like you came up with the recipe yourself. HelloFresh told me they don't care, right? They're like, go for it, take it. You could be like, yo, look, I picked out the perfect amount of paprika and all this stuff that I'm putting on top of the chicken dish. And then you serve it outside and enjoy the last few days of weather in the 60s in Jersey.
Too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Salt and pepper, oil, butter it up, whatever you want to do. So you know the deal. FT fam, HelloFresh.com/free FT. New subscribers can get themselves 10 free meals. That's right.
Wow.
Applied across 7 boxes. New subscribers only, varies by plan. 10 free HelloFresh meals just by going to HelloFresh.com/free FT. Obviously, they've been a sponsor for a good chunk of the year now, and we love what they're cooking. We order it, we make it, and a lot of you who have signed up, we appreciate it. It's obviously supporting the show too when you support our sponsors. So it is a holiday gift. Think about it. You can do a little month for someone, and when you get to the end, you get to the cart and you look as a first timer at how much it costs, you're gonna be like, oh, this is a lot cheaper than if I went to the grocery store and did this. So HelloFresh.com/free FT. We'll come right back and actually talk about things that are much more expensive than HelloFresh, and that is major league contracts for free agents. bonus segments. That is fire. You like that one?
Fire. I love how Hank Aaron signed a contract.
Nice.
Contract
Ooh,
predictions
nice.
is the name of the segment. Nice and simple. Okay, we're going to go through certain players. Kratz and Podfather are on the spot for today. AJ and I will handle some biz next week. I'm going to let Kratz go first, only because the biggest contract. What, you don't want to go? You don't want to let your friend go first?
There was a bug that flew away. I was
Get out of here. Well, here's the reason why. So I was looking at the players that were assigned to each of you. And obviously we've talked a lot about Soto, but we haven't made Kratz actually put a number next to his name. And then we have 9 other players we're going to do. So I want to put him to the test. So Kratz, let's lay out your list of 5 first and how much you think they're going to get. And don't forget that we are going to hold you to this. And we're not asking what you think they should receive. We're asking you what you think they actually will get. Go ahead.
All right. Well, we'll start out with the old teammate of mine, caught his big league debut, Corbin Burns. I think is going to go in the realm, and I should have written down my annual salaries, my AAVs, because it's kind of how I figured it out.
I can do that. I can help you. Yep.
Okay. And so I think I have Corbin Burns at $36 a year for 7 years, giving him a $257 million. He is signing at 2 years older, almost 2 years older, maybe a year and a half older than what. Thank you for putting those up, Jer.
And it's 37 just for you, Kratz. 36.7. So we round up 37.
Perfect. When Garrett Cole signed his contract, he got his at 36 per year, but 9 years. He's 2 years older, so I dropped 2 years, but I gave him an extra $1 million per year because he is going to be coveted by teams. That's why I have him at 257. Christian Walker is going to get, easy math there, 21 a year for 3 years at 34. I think I don't think teams are going to want to go into that 4th year unless they would push it to like a 4 years 70, 4 years 68 million to kind of spread out that AAV. But I just don't see him as that, and because he's going to be the JV player to whoever was searching for the Pete Alonso sweepstakes. So I think that's who they're going to go to where they're going to go to Christian Walker. I'm going to skip over Juan Soto. We'll talk about that last. I think Breggy is going to get 8 years, $180 million. I think his ability to be out on the field, his ability to not strike out, things that age well are the ability to not strike out, bat to ball skills, and he plays a premium third base. He is fresh off a Gold Glove, which is so valued. And if you look at what Matt Chapman just got, this is where I came with the 8 years, $180 million. Max Fried, I think, is going to get 6 years, $150 million. And I look back to 2019 with Patrick Corbin. Now, people would say, well, why would you sign a contract like Patrick Corbin's? Patrick Corbin won a World Series, and I will hang my hat on that. Nats fans, baseball fans, people who hate when players get money will be like, terrible contract, terrible contract. He's got a really shiny ring that says it was not a terrible contract, because if you go back and see who threw some really significant innings in that World Series, I get it. Max Scherzer, I get it. Steven Strasburg, Patrick Corbin. And I think Max Fried can be better than him. He doesn't quite have the innings or the strikeouts that Patrick Corbin had going into his platform year, going into his free agent year. But I still think Max Fried is a little bit more of a valuable player. Plus, that contract is now 5 years old. And Juan Soto, 14 years, $602 million.
Do we want the AAV on that? You want me to do the math?
Yeah, I forget exactly why I had
43.
The AAV. 43 million? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because when he signs back with the Yankees, you can't tell Juan Soto, we're going to give you 41 million because we think you're only $1 million better than Aaron Judge. Because Aaron Judge is paid $40 million a year. So to me, I'm going to show him with my words. I'm going to show him with my money. And I'm going to say, I think you are worth more than Aaron Judge. I think you are better than Aaron Judge by $3 million a year. And I think your career has shown that. I think you are younger, and I'm going to push this to $14 million. And I also have to pay this because the Mets offered you $580 million. So that's why we bumped it up.
And my follow-up here is, hey, what's up, Todd?
That was a lot. Holy cow.
Well, a lot of people just got very rich while you were in your retirement nap. But my follow-up here is, do you remember last year when the Yankees missed out on Yamamoto and they had offered 300 and there were some rumors like, oh, they didn't want to offer more than what Cole's contract is, which I think is BS. Cole happily would have had someone else on the staff making more than him. The same thing applies here. I better not see an excuse like, oh, we didn't want to give more than our captain, Aaron Judge. I actually don't think there's a human on the planet that cares less about Juan Soto making more money than him than Aaron Judge, and I'll tell you why. I actually think he wants him to make more because that would mean he's back on his team and he's his teammate, and Judge wants to win World Series championships. He's thinking legacy. So if that's the excuse, that would be crazy. So I'm glad you brought that up, Kratz, because if he's going back, he's going to need to make more per season.
Aaron Judge's legacy is how many World Series he makes it to and how many he wins. There's no glossing over that.
Yep.
Now,
Agreed.
if you were to say who would be more offended, Garrett Cole in the Yamamoto situation or Aaron Judge and the Juan Soto situation, 100% it would be Garrett Cole would be more offended. Rightly so. Yamamoto had done zero in the big leagues. He is not a better pitcher than Garrett Cole. So I would agree. If that's the reason, and they weren't doing it because of Garrett Cole's feelings, because if it was Garrett Cole's feelings, then we need to, they need to check that at the door. But he was not better than him. It is going to take 6 years of Yamamoto being elite, pitching better than he did this year to be better than Garrett Cole, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. All right, so here's the deal. Great job, Kratz, on your list. Todd Father, I want you to keep thinking up your numbers, and we'll get to them in probably about 15 minutes. Liam Hendriks joining us next on FT. Quick break. He's in the green room. Got 2 minutes. Everyone have a nice Friday cocktail if you're of age, and we'll be right back. What's up, FT fam? So I'm seeing your questions here. Bring them for Liam Hendriks as well in the chat right now, and we will ask him some of those questions. I see one from John about the feeling of pitching at Fenway Park. And let's see, I'll get one question for you guys right now while we get ready for Liam. I see Bourbon and Baseball, our friend Susie, asking about the update on Alek Manoah. I don't know what the timetable is for him. I haven't seen much news on him. Have you guys?
Manoah?
I have not.
Is he pitching at all this year, or it's not until 26? When did he get the surgery? I got to look back.
I thought he got it in May.
So you're pushing.
So either way.
You're probably not much of a – I mean, you're probably no factor, especially at his age. I mean, he's going to take it slow when he comes back, right? He's a young pitcher. They're not going to, rush him back. He's gone through a lot. Obviously, he's had a ton of success at an early age and at an early stage of his career, I should say, right? It was year 2, I think, that he finished 3 in Cy Young? Was it something like that?
During the All-Star game, he was, and it was a big innings jump, but I think he showed what happens if you're not feeling 100%. Hopefully he can chalk that year and a half of struggles that he had after his All-Star season to this. And so it shows you got to get healthy. You need him healthy. Liam, the guy coming on, can tell you all about pitching with elbow pain and how much better it feels once you clean it up.
Yeah, 12 to 14 months at least for him. And talking about Manoah, surgery was on June 18th. So the best you're getting is maybe a late stint in 25 if he wants to feel good. and get, a start or two in. But most of the time nowadays for the starters, for the young starters, they just chuck it and get ready for spring training 26.
It's different if they're pushing it. It's different if they're pushing for the playoffs and you can bring a dude back throwing 97 to 100 with the, sink and slide like he had. But Blue Jays fans' last recollection of Alek Manoah was not great.
No, it's probably going to be a wait. So let's get to Liam Hendriks in 20 seconds and talk to our mate. Here we go. Liam Hendriks with the AA+++ hair game going right now. Liam, good to see you, man. Happy offseason. Dude, I love it. That's it. That's the modern look right now, where you get a good chunk in the front and give it just the natural curls that you have. So, dude, these guys know I actually don't comment on hair often, but you've got it right now.
It's the definition of lettuce.
It's organic.
Hang on, mate. Okay. So first of all, that's like a mix between like a toupee and like what all the middle school kids have right now. All the middle school kids are fluffing it up, and so it's like all hanging there. And I know, mate. I get it. Like it's like jealousy is abounding. Did you come up with that, or did your stylist come up with that?
Well, I had it long, like I had for a number of years, and then kept it through treatment, and then had to cut it off when I got TJ because I couldn't put it up, and it was a whole thing. And then I started growing out again, and one of the barbers just decided to damn near put a split in the middle of my head, and it was just hair on one side, and that wasn't good for anyone. So the good thing is like we wear a hat for a living. So if all else fails, I just throw on a hat, and I'm still good.
Is that a Gold Glove behind you?
That would be. The Heart of Gold from last year. They presented that with me. That was a really cool experience being able to sit there, and my table was electric too. I had obviously Stevie Cohen, who is the glove rep and pretty much the guy everyone goes to. Who I had A-Rod on one side, I had Joe Mauer on the other side. I had it was a pretty special table to be at.
Damn, that's awesome.
What
were the combos
like
at that table too?
In the sense that that's like a glove, like because I didn't know, and I said this on this show before, like the actual Gold Glove is a glove, and it's gold. I didn't know that until my son took R.A. Dickey's when we were teammates, took it off of his Gold Glove award without him actually knowing it. I thought it was actual metal gold until that day in 2014, but.
Yeah, it was really cool. Like I did ask if I could get one of the little gold patches, and they just pretty much laughed me out of the room because you haven't won anything. But the other one was I was really pushing because now they've got the utility Gold Glove. Why don't we do a starter and a reliever? I think there's some relievers out there who just don't have the amount of innings that I think deserve an opportunity.
I agree.
Relievers are people too, Eric. Relievers
Agreed.
No, you're not. There's a reason you keep people keep dogs. I know you don't keep dogs in a pen. You keep dogs just everywhere around your house. But there's a reason people keep dogs cooped up. Like you guys are you're different animals. Okay, you don't need awards,
and I can't laugh.
Yeah, you don't have. You guys have all the awards you need. Okay, all right.
But they have feelings.
One that doesn't even get announced on the rest of the nights.
Yeah, well, you're right. You're not wrong.
Of dogs.
There's one.
Oh my God!
Epic.
This is
Epic.
Cheeto.
Cheeto. Like
Cheeto.
Snack. It's a problem. Aren't you?
All right. Well, yeah. Cheeto. Yes, I love that.
Gross.
Cheeto. How is Pop's arm doing? How you feeling, man?
I'm doing good. So, I was. If the season was a week longer, I would have been back. If we'd have made the playoffs, I would have been back. Unfortunately, I hit that little bit of a snaggle right at the end, and when you're that close, you have to take a little bit more time off, and then it's a little bit longer of a build-up. So, unfortunately, it just didn't happen. But I felt good throwing. I had decent results. Just a little bit of inflammation on the outside, which has all got rectified now, and now it's building up to come back in 25 and see what I can do for this Red Sox team and be the first ever Aussie to pitch for the Boston Red Sox.
Is that true?
Yeah, that was. I have a list of teams that haven't had an Australian before, and that was. Yeah, surprisingly, it's the Red Sox, the Cubs, the Cardinals, and the Pirates. I think are the four, and the Nationals. The Nationals, but they had someone in Montreal. So whether you want to count that or not.
Right. But you had some of the big market clubs that haven't had an Aussie. All right, this is awesome. So how excited are you to be a part of that mix coming into next season? And also, I'm sure you're now keeping pretty close tabs on what they're up to. Their name as a team has popped up, around every free agent basically. And it sounds like they're actually going to, put the pedal to the metal a little bit this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, look, we overperformed from the first half and we underperformed the second half. So we were able to kind of overperform, show what we can do, and then unfortunately underperform the second half, but also showed where our weak links were, where we need to upgrade, where we have an opportunity to improve. So I think it was almost not the best of both worlds, because the best is making the playoffs still. But I mean, the Boston Red Sox are the Boston Red Sox. You guys, we need to start spending money. That's what we were. That's where they've been successful at. And look, I think they've got a great opportunity. I think Breslow has really good guidance on the way he's going to go about doing things. And at the end of the day, it's with free agency, you just never know, because you may be the bridesmaid to every single big free agent, but you are throwing out hundreds of millions of dollars at guys that just didn't quite work out. But I think the Red Sox name and the guys we have in that clubhouse are fantastic. So once we get the guys in there, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Right.
Yeah, talking about a guy we've been talking about a guy for a little time now, Juan Soto. We're talking with him and how, there was some big talks, 3-hour meeting. I mean, that's got to be a little bit exciting just to hear that news.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, you look at from our roster breakdown point of view, does it make the most sense? No. But how many times does a guy of Juan Soto's caliber at his age come up on the free agent market? And when you've got pockets enough to be able to delve into it, you may as well check it out. You may as well do your due diligence. And you know what? He's a generational player that you can build around. And I don't think there's ever going to be anybody that stops him in a lineup. So you may as well try and go out there and do what you need to do to meet him and see what his demands are and see if it aligns with where we're going. And I mean, from all I know, we're going full metal, and hopefully we can make those big moves and big splashy moves, because it's the AL East. It's not exactly a league where you can, or a division where you can just kind of coast by.
It's not the AL Central. Is that what you were saying, Liam?
I mean, they had 3 teams in the playoffs this year. Now,
well, that's what
you take the White Sox out of it, they may have only had 1, but they had 12-1 against all those teams, which is the difference in what it was for the Red Sox making the playoffs. And this is just saying.
Hey, the math plays out. But you were talking about Juan Soto. All right. Were you there? Because this is a 2-part question. Were you there at the meeting, the 3-hour meeting with Juan Soto to try to woo him to Boston?
No, that would have scared him off, I'm assuming. They don't need someone, because I would just I'd make fun of Scott a little bit, but that's beside the point. But no, they don't include me in those things, and that's probably smart on their behalf, because let's be honest, that's why they put me in the bullpen.
That good point. You got you that one played back around for us. If you were in that meeting, what would Liam Hendriks do? Because you're not far. I mean, being in Arizona, you're put. You could have taken a drive. How would you have wooed Juan Soto there with food? Because a 3-hour meeting, I know your ADD is not sitting through a 3-hour meeting. So this is going to be like an hour and a half meeting. But how would you woo a player of his status outside of like the baseball stuff?
Outside the baseball stuff, the big things for anyone is always clubhouse vibes and then amenities. So it's like you look at what you can bring to the table as far as food and flights and hotels and all those little things, but also the personality that you can bring into as far as what our clubhouse vibe is, what we can do, and how good are they at fixing things? So, you know what? This was subpar. Can we go ahead and improve it? So that would be my pitch to him, was just the way we go about doing things and how much fun this team had as a whole. And it was a great team to be part of, because they all meshed well. And the good thing was we all ribbed on each other and everyone can take it, which is the best part.
Hey, Liam, I actually remember, I think it was the last time we had you on. I think we were on the road for an event, and I was wearing some type of A's fan related shirt, and you gave me a quick shout out at the end. I caught it like right at the end as we're heading in to commercial break. So now I could actually, for the first time, I think on this show, ask you for your thoughts now that it's over, that, you know, Oakland is not going to have baseball, at least for the short term, and how this looks for a player that, especially a vet, is on a team that is going to play years and years at a minor league facility, and like what it means for the sport. Because I know you're opinionated on this stuff and you have a connection there, and honestly, it sucks.
Yeah, it definitely sucks. I mean, both my wife and I watched that last game at Oakland, and I teared up. It was an emotional day. I mean, I spent 5 years there. I spent a good term of my entire baseball life there, and it was also, I was mediocre, I was good, and had some really good years at the end, and so it completely tracked my trajectory. And I don't think without Oakland I'd be where I am today. I don't think without Oakland in that situations I would still be playing baseball. And so it definitely weighs in my heart. I've got a little bit of dirt from the Coliseum mound that's up there that I started collecting. We went there early this year, so went and grabbed it then. But yeah, it sucks. It's unfortunate because I think anybody who, as a fan, goes there, the stadium not great. Anybody who played there, other than the clubhouse and all that sort of stuff, the playing surface, by far and away the best in the league. It was phenomenal. The mound was fantastic. The dirt was fantastic. The grass, even when they were playing football on it, it was a fantastic place to actually play. I mean, I'm a bias as a pitcher because it was fantastic for me even more. But there was a lot of positives to what they were able to do with what they were given. And that's something that it just sucks. I mean, I've said it before, but you're rewarding the ineptitude of an owner.
Right, exactly. And for me, I mean, I went out there when they had the fan fest that the fans put together, and it was a vibe. It was thousands of people. It was incredible. And you talk to many people there, and they're like, yeah, they're going to pick on us, you know, late in the last few years for attendance. They're finding ways for us to not go. They're raising ticket prices. They're not taking care of things, right? Like they're doing this on purpose, quiet quitting essentially. So my next question to you is, what is baseball losing with Oakland fans? Because not every fan is the same level of fandom, and that's okay, right? We welcome all fans. Some fans just show up as corporate people for the World Series, but you know what I'm talking about. Where an Oakland fan has the passion that our sport needs and makes it unique. And I mean, for many of them, they're not just hopping over to root for the Giants now; like they're gone, or they're rooting for the Oakland Ballers locally.
Yes, I mean, you look at the bleacher creatures, whether it be the right field or the left field, they're the ones with the signs out there every single day. Those guys were at every single game, rain, shine, night game, day game, midweek day game. It didn't matter. They were there. And then there was the groups that you walk past. I mean, walking out to the field, there was always this group of ladies who we'd always have a chat with, and they ended up hanging out with my wife in the stands. And those are the things you're going to miss, is those people, the diehards that were there every single game or every single game they could be at. I mean, and anyone who's been there for a playoff game, I think that the wild card game there in 19 when we played the Rays, that place was like it got close to feeling like it was about to fall down. That's how loud that place got. And inside a stadium where it's an open air stadium, that's really hard to do. And so the fans, when they showed up, they were boisterous, they were loud, they had a good time. It was kind of unregulated because the music, they'd all get into it. It was such a great experience to play at. And no matter where you go, no matter how big the fan base is anywhere else, I just don't think you can replicate that. And that's before even including the fact of they were arguably the best team back in the 70s or 80s, and all the history that's there. The Hall of Famers that grew up and then played there. You got MC Hammer running through as a bat boy. You got all these like really cool iconic parts that are going to get forgotten about, and that's unfortunate because of everything, the history that's gone there. And then I get it. This is the third iteration of the Athletics, but now we're going into the fourth and then the fifth when they move to Vegas or whatever name they go with. But it's definitely the end of an era, and it's disappointing because I text some of the guys that I played with there, and it was heartbreaking for almost everyone who had actually spent time there.
All right, how embarrassed are you that big league teams are going to have to play in parks that you and I played together in a AAA season in spring training? What kind of look does that put on just Major League Baseball in general? Because you sit here and you go, well, I don't think Liverpool's playing on a backfield of some type of soccer complex. They're making sure they're playing you're never seeing the Knicks playing on Rutgers Park. but yet we're playing at Suter Health Stadium in West Sacramento and George Steinbrenner Field.
Look, I'm not exactly looking forward to it, but in the same sense, it's I don't know if you ever heard the quote by Mike Piazza saying that every guy that spends 10 years in the big leagues should have to spend 3 weeks in the minor leagues again to remember how good it is. And I think it's almost going to be a humbling experience for all of these guys who have a little bit more of an ego and get there. And you know what? Minor leagues is way different from when we all played there. And now they've got food, they've better travel, they're in one city for 6 days. But this is the stuff where it's like you almost need to remind yourself the struggles that we went through and how grateful we should be to be in the big leagues, not just to be expected. And if this isn't good enough and this isn't good enough and that's the problem or anything like that. So I think it's going to be it's going to suck, don't get me wrong. But in the long term for player morale, I think it'll end up being good because they remember how good they had it, especially guys who have been with one organization their entire careers that have now been in the big leagues for so long that they can remind themselves, you know what? There was a struggle to get here. And I remember how excited I was to be in the big leagues. I remember how excited I was to be able to get big league spread and fly on a nice plane and stay in nice hotels. And so being able to look at that and remember that, I think it's going to end up paying dividends in the long run. But it sucks for right now, especially when you got rid of a stadium that is perfectly there. It's still there. I still think the Rays should go play in the Coliseum. That would be just funny to me. But it's just like there's so many things. It's just the big league stadium's still there. The fact that you can't, it's ridiculous.
Wait, you're in the American League East. You would not, as much as you complain about little stuff, you would not want to fly across the country to go play a 3-game set against the Rays to then come back across the country to play against the Orioles.
I read a book on a plane. I'm good.
Boom.
Noise canceling
All right.
headphones and sci-fi fantasy fiction. I'm good.
All right. So a quick answer for a long question. Are you going to be around enough to be able to play as a big leaguer in the Olympics in 2028 for your country? And should Major League Baseball players be allowed to play in, to me, the best world sports spectacle there is, the Olympics?
Absolutely. One, I've got a brand new elbow, so my elbow is 0 years old, so there's that. So regardless of age, I've got that. And my other goal is, 2028 in LA. They're going to have baseball. I'm hoping they add more teams so that way Australia can qualify. And if not, then we may have to look into a nice little financial donation so that I'm going to be still kicking around at 2032 when it's in Brisbane. And that way I can be an Olympian and I can always claim that because growing up in a country where the Olympics rules every sport, it's everything. Even the Aussie rules football players, the top echelon of the favorite sport in the country, they all want to be an Olympian. And that's just something that is ingrained into you as a kid is the Olympics is the upper echelon. And that's the epitome of what it is to be an athlete.
All right. You're so hip, especially with your haircut. Now the most hip thing to do tonight. Who wins in the fight tonight? Jake Paul, Mike Tyson?
It's hard to bet against a actual professional boxer regardless of how old he is. So I'm always going to go Mike. Well, plus I've also met Mike, and his handshake almost ripped my freshly debuted arm out of socket. So he is still an incredibly imposing and strong man. So it's really hard to ever bet against Mike.
I like it. Oh, he's the underdog. So we'll see. We'll give our picks too at the end. Yeah. Well, there's an age difference.
You can't bet against a face tattoo. It's a face tattoo. I don't want to fight a face tattoo.
True.
Hey, much more accomplished, much more decorated by far, but massive age difference. So yes, we'll size it up. But I agree with you. It's been cool to kind of hear. It's actually a great idea by them. It's going to be entertaining tonight. So Liam, enjoy it, man. Awesome to see you. Very excited to see the fresh arm unveiled on Fenway Park in 25, and we'll catch you in spring training. All right.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Liam Hendriks with us on FT, swinging right back for Todd Father to lay out his contracts this offseason. All right, here we go. Let's swing it over to which team we think is going to represent the American League next year. BetMGM odds. The beauty of this is that you can get in on some action before moves are made. So if you have an inclination of what you think is going to happen with a particular team that might make them a little bit more favorable on this list, then go for it. Obviously, the AL Central is going to check in at plus 275, or maybe not so obviously. I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? So AL East is at plus 105. AL West is at plus 210. AL East just had the Yankees come through. Orioles should be good again. Red Sox should be better. Rays should be better. Blue Jays, I'm not sure. Depends. Obviously, we had a good chat about what's going on with them. But guys, thoughts on any value here? Like here, let me present a scenario. The AL Central. We had 3 teams make the playoffs and from that division. So it ups your chances of sneaking in through the ALCS, and they still do. Last I checked, they still have the White Sox in the AL Central, who are book it another 100-loss team.
Yeah, this is a tough one. This is a little more trickier just because of how many teams get in from the Central. So if I'm choosing right now, I will stick with the AL East, getting with the Orioles and the Yankees trying to get to a championship.
Okay, because the problem is it's only plus 105, so it's like it's not enticing.
Yeah, but
then basically
was the NL West. The NL West was plus 110 or 105. So
true, yeah.
But you got a little more faith on that side, a little more convincing over there.
Okay,
I think we have to shake away our recency bias and forget the fact that the Astros are still in the AL West. If there's a team that knows how to get to the World Series, they've shown it. I know they didn't this past year. They could have, but they ran into the Tigers. And it was a short series. So to me, I love that value at 210.
Okay, I like that. Hey, bonus code FOUL, FOUL, up to $1,500 back in bonus bets. When you place your first bet, you sign up, you put in at least $10 into an account. If you don't win, that's when the bonus bets come through. Once your initial wager is settled, gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Contract predictions, part 2. Todd Father's list is on the board. So let us know how you put this together for your boy Pete Alonso, Anthony Santander, Jock Peterson, Corbin Burns, and Aroldis Chapman.
Listen, I know I'm not the best at this. I'm still trying to figure out the business part of baseball. But, for me, some years the money is higher than others. I think it's not going to be as much as I would love for these guys to make as much money. So first, Pete Alonso is going to get 5 years. He's going to get 20. Well, I did my math wrong again. So that would be what, 30 million a year? And he will be going to the Yankees. Okay. I got him going to the Yankees. And this is all precedence on Juan Soto as well. Like if he gets picked up by the Yankees, it's, it could be a different story as well. So I'm going right now if Juan Soto wasn't there. My next is Anthony Santander. I love this guy. I know the Mariners, they do make some moves at the end. 4 years, $88 million. I just see him at the Mariners. I see them making one of their big splashes of getting a guy like Santander there in Seattle. Jock Peterson, bro, I love him, man. He just comes in and just does his job. Excuse me while I look here. I got Jock Peterson and the Mets figuring out a deal for 2 years for $24 million. He is 33 years old. Give that man a 2-year deal. He can DH and do some things over there in New York. Corbin Burns, I also have going to the Mets. I think Cohen's going to have some fun this year. He's going to pick him up for 4 years, $100 million. I know Kratzy had a lot more money on the table for him. And then Aroldis Chapman, who I talked about yesterday. Love this guy. He's going to get a 1-year deal, go back to the Boogie Down Bronx, and help that bullpen out as well.
Kratz, any rebuttal?
Got a question about that?
I mean, I have I got some problems. I think I'm going to come in as the agent, and I think we're underselling some dudes. I
Yeah,
think
I know.
Corbin
And I
Burns.
did. I said that at the beginning.
Todd works for the
I'm
league.
getting Doble.
Todd works for the
Doble
league. I see
plus.
it. He's
Yep, I
looking.
knew it.
Yeah.
I don't
Labor
work for the league.
relations.
I don't. I don't work for the league.
Labor
I
relations.
do like your Jock Peterson to the Mets. I think he's got to be sick of doing all these 1-year deals. I think he's got to. I think he could settle in on a team that needs some left-handed thump, and I don't hate that. I don't know if you want, as the Mets, building a $300 to $350 million team, if you want to lock Jock Peterson in to be your DH for the next 2 years. I feel like there's some. You can't forget the next year, Vladdy's coming out. He could be available in free agency. You could drop a cool 300 plus million on him. Like, I like that move, but maybe more as like another 1 year for Jock. But I can't believe you undersold my Corbin Burns by so much. 25 a year. If he gets 25 a year, he might be throwing in West Sacramento for the A's. The A's might even be able to pay Corbin Burns 25 a year.
Hey, listen, I guess I undersold everybody. I'm doing that hoping it's a lot more money for everybody. Okay. You know how they got to start. They got to start high. You got to start low and then start high and meet in the middle.
Well, I mean, there's some things I really like here, Todd. Like, I think you're in a pretty good range for Pete Alonso. I know that I think the Mets offer was in the 160 something range, but that was before last season. So I could see a 150 piece. I think you're right in the window. I think Santander's in a pretty good spot there. I think he's a sub $100 million guy. I mean, I think there's a lot of teams right now that are thinking they might be able to pull off a 3-year 60 something. So I think there are so many of those teams that what happens is he ends up getting the 4th year and gets himself maybe into the 80s. So I like that. I actually think Jock Peterson, based on age and how freaking dominant he was against right-handed pitching, has a pretty good chance at a 2-year contract. So I think you're in a good range there. I just think Corbin Burns is going to want to set up the sequel to the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight and say, let's go, Todd Father. I'm getting 240 or whatever that Kratz gave me. And I'll take you out to 90 steak dinners. Yeah, exactly.
I'm in.
Yeah. What about Chapman? Let's finish with Araldis. So he's going to sign a 1-year deal, but he probably gets more than that because he was pretty good this past season. I think he got like 12-ish from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm just saying because of age, I'm going to stay around that 8 to 10 million range. I would say.
Okay.
I think he actually goes. I think he goes up. He's a guy that was 2 strikeouts short of 100 punchies this year in 61 or 62 innings, and he made 10 and a half. I think he's gone from now the last 2 years, Royals to the Pirates as a signing. Obviously, won a World Series with the Rangers. He's shown that he can get big time outs. So to me, I'm thinking that price is probably going to be more in what Craig Kimbrell got last year in the offseason, 13 plus. Do you have to have Araldis as your closer? No. Can he close? Yes. Yeah. But he's not going to be, he's not going to have a sub 1 ERA, but there's only like 2 relievers in the game that do that. So to me, I think he gets probably in that 12 to 14 range.
Okay, there you go. All right, well, good stuff. Everyone, let us know your thoughts on some other contract predictions. As you saw in the corner there, fair territory, Ken Rosenthal going over trades, signings, and reports on the hot stove as well. So make sure you check out that show on YouTube on Mondays and Thursdays, and we'll be right back for a little slap hands action.
Another pitcher who had a pretty good rookie season, Luis Gil. I want you to, go over, express to me his year. What's your thoughts on his first rookie year and how you think he did with everybody else?
Yeah, I mean, there's another guy with gas, and he's a guy that's stuff plus. My stat over at Fangraphs loved from the get go because he's got ride, he's got a nice power gyro, and then he's got one of those like power. King Felix type power changeups. That's a ton of movement. the only flaw that I see in his game is command. And that's something that's, been a problem for him in the minors. This year, it was pretty good. And I think to some extent, he has such good stuff that he can kind of throw to the middle of the zone, let the movement take it away from the heart of the zone, and not focus too much on dotting the corners. But one thing I do see that he likes to do is he likes to throw that changeup, which has plus movement at righties, right on right. And that's really confusing for a lot of hitters, and it's a good way to get guys out. It's also a good way to hit batters.
So you see that he gets posted. You start analyzing what you can use from what we saw at the World Baseball Classic in terms of collecting data and anything that you've been able to see and collect from overseas. Add it all up, and what do you think? What do you think he's going to look like in Major League Baseball in 2025?
I think on the top end, we're talking about a Lucas Erceg that starts. So Lucas Erceg for 6 innings. We're talking about like closer level stuff for 6 innings. It's not the best ride, but it's really great velo. He was sitting 99. He was sitting 100 in the WBC. He's sitting 98, 99 in Japan. That's the top end, is just like closer level stuff for 6 innings. He has lost some velo, and he's lost shape, and he's had some physical issues while he's been over there. So it's not quite the slam dunk of a Yamamoto or even a Shota, because, on the lower end, he's more of a Gavin Williams, sitting 96, 97 with a kind of a 2-plane fastball instead of a real like a rider like Shota has. So, it's more of a Gavin Williams with a plus forkball. That's the range. And it's still a really good range. So that's why everybody's interested. Also because they're going to get him basically on a minor league contract. He's going to be like under team control for 6 years. So that's another reason. So if you could get somebody that could be Gavin Williams or basically be a 6-inning closer, that's why everybody's interested.
Scotty, you're muted, Keith.
Yeah, I was going to say, did my mic go bad?
What Scotty was saying was how hype I get when we're off camera for that new slap hands. Like, I'm just like, dun, 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 dun. But we're going to go to Kratz hats until he figures out his mic. Boston Red Sox.
Ooh.
I mean, if we're talking about all these Red Sox storylines, they're going to get every single free agent, and then they'll probably end up just re-signing Tyler O'Neill. But they're going to get all these free agents. I can't not wear this hat. And when they sign a big free agent, when they sign somebody Max Fried or better, I'll wear the hat again.
Very nice. Very nice. That's nice, Kratzy. I listen. The B it's big in the New England area, Northeast. There's a lot of people that can see that hat. Bostonians, Susan Waldman inside. Watch out. All good. Hey, I wanted to get into this before we leave. Remember we talked about this Paul Skeens card.
We're just going to go to the card, not the other giveaway part, just the card. Let's only talk about the card. Because you're a card guy. You're a card guy. This is like, tell me about this, because I don't know enough about these cards.
So they started doing these MLB debut patches a couple years ago. So if you play whatever game you debut in, what they do is they take the patch off of that jersey and make it into a card. And for some people, if you get a random person, that's pretty cool. That's basically like their coming out party of baseball cards. And this is a big one here from what we're hearing. It's always a 1-of-1 card. There's only one made in the universe. And, whoever gets it is going to be one lucky person, Scott.
We still don't hear. I would love to see Scott. Yeah, I would love to see Scott. I'm in a box. You can't hear me. He's a mime. But this is wild. But I wonder if it's his 1-of-1 debut card, and is that like authentic, like patch from his game? Doesn't he get to keep that patch?
No. So that's the one. You don't get to keep it. They put it on that jersey. I think you get to keep the jersey if I'm not mistaken, but they do take that patch off once the game's over with, and they make it into a card. I mean, look. Jackson Holiday is going to have one of those. I mean, there's a couple others here. I was texting my buddy. He's like, Eli, I think our Ellie De La Cruz has one too as well. There's some big ones out there that are going for some big bucks here. And
what are we talking for Paul Skeens? What are we talking? $200,000 for that card?
Well, you tell me. What do you think? This is what my buddy Tyler Santiago sent me at Santiago Sports. Absolute beast of a card guy.
I don't know. I think if I'm going to go $200,000 because I have no idea.
150 plus. We're talking big buy. You're right there. So it could go up to $200,000.
And you know what else you could get? You could either get the cash, or since all this started coming out about the card, if you give the card back, guess who promised to sit? You could sit next to him at a Pirates game.
Yeah, I know. That's insanity. Hey,
Olivia Dunn, otherwise known as Livy Dunn, said, "Let's raise the stakes. The person who finds the card can sit with me at a Pirates game in my suite." Boy, your girlfriend's got a suite, and you got less than a year in the big leagues. Never have I seen it. Who wins the fight tonight?
I was going to ask you the same thing. I got Kid Dynamite, Iron Mike, first round. Let's go, baby.
That's all I remember looking at. Sports Illustrated, that huge forearm punching some dude. Oh, Jake Paul is going to be seeing Tweety birds.
Hey, don't forget next week. Me and you are on the same page. Go ahead, John Sterling. I can't even tell you. Go take it.
Chris Sale, John Sterling, Carlos Mendoza, and maybe a few other managers, depending on who wins the Manager of the Year. Brett Phillips, Will Venable. Ooh-wee. Have a good weekend. Don't forget to hit subscribe. FP.